Thanks, Seema. As you quite rightly said, ultimately this is a confidence vote on the future of the coalition government, wrapped up in the packaging of what's likely to be 3 rounds of presidential elections to try and vote in the government's choice of candidates. The overwhelming majority of people that I've spoken to here this morning and overnight believe that the Prime Minister is not going to be successful. He won't get the number of votes he needs, and ultimately we'll see snap elections in January. Whereas, as you say, the radical left party, Syriza, will likely form some kind of coalition. The other big concern that I'm hearing here is the QE in Europe could have a different effect on Greece to some of the other countries. If you look at what happened in the markets last week, the spreads of the other peripheral countries were very well contained when we saw Greece's widening. They can fund themselves pretty easily. So it looks like Greece, very idiosyncratic risk right now. And the risk is if Syriza gets into power, messes up the negotiations with the Troika, could they ultimately be let go and Greece has to deal with it themselves? Let's explore this idea. My next guest is Miranda Zafar. She's the CEO of EF Consulting. Miranda, great to have you on the show. What do you think the risk is here of Greece being allowed to leave the Eurozone if the negotiations with the next government potentially and the Troika go badly?
Any new government would have to follow the policies prescribed by the Troika in order to maintain access to financing from the IMF and the ESM, and also to regain eventually market access. Failing this, Greece will default. There are bond maturities coming up in July and August, and Greece does not have the funding to cover those.
So basically, it's a big if at this stage. What it's looking like is we could end up having snap elections in January. Do you expect to see a U-turn then from Alexis Tsipras and the Syriza party? Because right now the talk that he makes here is very aggressive, that he'll walk away from any kind of bailout deal.
Yes, indeed. Opinion polls point to a Syriza-led coalition. We don't know who they would form a coalition with, but most probably it would be with a more moderate party like PASOK or the River, perhaps, that would force Syriza to moderate their policies, whose problem is that no one is willing to fund them.
The bottom line here is actually that Greece is leaving its programme far too early. And rather than just being allowed to go out there with a precautionary credit line, the programme should ultimately be extended. It's looking very at risk as far as investors in the market are concerned, trying to go out there on its own like Ireland and Portugal did.
Yes, in fact, Greece requested an extension of its programme in late 2012, which creditors accepted, with the result that the primary surplus target of 4.5% of GDP was moved forward from 2014 to 2016. So Greece's fiscal adjustment was not going to be complete before 2016.